Welcome to the first part series of the email marketing course completely for free on the house. Whether you're an agency, freelancer, or you're just doing your emails yourself, you're going to find something that you can definitely take away and implement with your brand, and even just see different ways of looking at things, and hopefully start seeing some decent profit coming from your welcome series. I have already done a quick video on this YouTube channel before on the Ultimate Welcome series, which is just a video of me talking through all the points of what makes a good welcome series and things to include. In this video, it's more of an interactive video that we're going to be going through the design side of things, implementing into Klaviyo, all the automations, so going through like delay times and actually showing you how to build it out yourself. As you can see, this email is for one of our clients. They're a fashion brand. So these emails are designed in Photoshop as well, which is a bit different to Figma. They're just imported to keep things easy for slicing and putting them into Klaviyo. As you can see, the first email, we've got a prominent discount code at the top, so it tells them exactly what they're going to be getting. You really do want to keep this above the first fold, as I mentioned in the previous video. So you can instantly see there's a shop now button and they're going to get 15% off. Also, these links are created from Shopify, so it automatically applies the code once they click through, which I think a lot of brands do actually miss out on. They're relying on the fact that they're going to remember your code, type it, they're clicking in between apps. So you do want to make things easier and then just use a link which is going to automatically apply the code. In this email series, we've used a 4-part email series. So we have the first one, which is going to be sent instantly. It's going to have the discount code with an easy call to action button. It's also got a little bit of text in there, just describing kind of what they're going to expect to see as subscribing to this brand, which kind of details why they should buy this brand and the USPs, which are the unique selling points, which are going to differentiate them for other loungewear companies. Also, a few bits of product information down here, like products that they sell. So we have emails 2 and 3. As you can see here, there's a little bit more information on here and it's less focused around the product in terms of selling. It's more focused around describing and almost what to expect when they're going to get when they purchase your product. This brand especially has got a lot more information to include on there. We go into a lot more detail with the fabrics that's used. It's made all in LA, ethically made and stuff like that, which is a unique selling point compared to other brands. So a lot of people are into that sort of niche. We've also as well got some reviews, so we've got social proof. The reviews actually haven't been updated into here as it's just an image. But a good thing to do as well is to actually include images of your customers using it or wearing your product. It does kind of add some validity to there rather than just using your basic product display pictures. Then again, this brand is also especially uses Instagram quite well. So their community is built in-house and they are very big on the community side of things. So again, it does give them the option to follow your social medias and see a bit more what you're about to hopefully push them over the edge and purchase. This email has actually been changed, but I will go through a few things on there as well. With this being the last email, especially for the discount, we want to be putting a bit more urgency on things. So having this expires in 24 hours and kind of pushing it a bit more because this is going to be the last time they're going to see this email, potentially unless they end up purchasing through campaigns or if they get entered into other flows. One thing as well, we did have a dynamic block on here as well because they were running new products and they have quite a big line as well. So we have new products coming in and out and then stocks obviously changing as well. So this helps us keep up to date with products that are actually being used, and Klaviyo can just put it dynamically for saying the best selling products and stuff like that. I do just want to point out as well, this is another welcome flow we've done for another brand and they actually don't use a discount code. They don't really have an offer to get people on the list. However, obviously as a brand, you do kind of want to have this thing in place. So there is other ways of going around things and just breaking it down and making it a little bit more fun and going more off the idea of selling things to a bit more about your brand. So here we have all the play, learn. It's not just about shoving products down their throats. So if you're on a brand new account, you're probably going to be looking at this same sort of screen as me. If not, then obviously you might know a little bit of way around Klaviyo. So you do just want to come to the homepage. And the first thing what we want to do for the welcome flow is opt in. So you're going to type in default opt-in, and usually, especially if you're on a brand new account or you haven't actually changed this setting, it's going to already be on double opt-in. We want to turn this to single opt-in only. I'm not sure if you're aware of things. So if you've seen it on your emails, if you subscribe to a brand and it comes up with either an email from Klaviyo or your other email provider, it's going to say, are you accepting that you want to receive marketing information from this brand? Usually people aren't actually looking for an email from Klaviyo. They're going to be looking for an email from your brand. So it might actually get missed and then they might not even get put on your mailing list. Again, it's just another process that they can get lost in between. Whereas if we keep things easier and then easier for them to follow through, then at the end of the day, it's just going to help us in converting. So make sure this is on single opt-in. Then we are going to jump into the nitty gritty things. In this playlist, I'm going to be breaking down every single flow and what to include in all your flows. So to make things easier for yourself, you can just copy my videos and then you have an A to Z guide on pretty much your whole email marketing. With this email built out for our client, this is kind of what you're going to expect to see. So as you can see, it is a 4 email list. Starting off, we have the trigger. So I will go into a minute on how to actually design it in 𝐂𝐿𝐵, but I'm just going to show you how it looks in the end so you can kind of have a rough idea of what you're going to need to do yourself. Your trigger is the newsletter. So when people have used your pop-up form, which again, I have actually made a video on how to create a high converting pop-up form. This one actually performed at 12% submit rate, which is pretty high, to be honest with you. Straight off the bat, you want to be, as soon as they sign up, you want to be sending them the email instantly. I've seen a few brands that do like a delay of like an hour or 2 hours, even a little bit longer in some cases. The only downside with this is, let's say, for example, you're on your lunch break at work. You then send it 2 hours later. You're then going to be in work. You're then not going to be in a mood to buy stuff. Again, that's just fizzled out. Another example as well, a lot of buyers end up going on their phones in the evening before bed. And let's say it's 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and you've got like a 2-3 hour delay on that. You're then going to be looking at times that are pushing midnight and onwards. Again, people aren't going to be on their phone to purchase this. So the fact they've actually gone on your pop-up, they're going to want to be receiving this information instantly. Even if you do include the discount code in the welcome series, it's still good practice just to send this email out instantly so they're going to get it. With the timers, I see a lot of people saying your brand needs to use this, your brand needs to use that. Each situation is going to be different depending on how your price point. If you've got a high price point, you're going to want to be delaying your frequency of emails, so you're going to be increasing it, decreasing it. It all comes down to testing and seeing what works better for your brand. So with this one, we actually don't have any evidence to prove that. Obviously, it is a brand new account, so we're just sticking it off. We're starting off with 3 days, and then 5 days, and then 5 days again. We do just want to kind of stretch this out because it is kind of a niche product. There's a lot on the site as well, so depending on what people are actually purchasing, it will kind of take a little bit of time to chase up on things. Again, throughout the testing period, we'll be keeping an eye on things, checking open rates, click rates, and then be messing around with things here. As you can see, we're already testing times. So we've got 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So you can play around with this as well. With your first email to second email, I recommend anywhere between 1 to 3 days. Again, it depends on your price point. The more expensive it is, I'd go for a longer delay in between. And then as this one, we are stretching ours out a little bit longer. We've gone for, again, for emails 2 to 3, we've got 5 days, and we're testing this at 1 p.m. And then same again, we're testing 5 days again. We do just kind of want to stretch this out. It depends on your brand. If it's an impulse buy, we can kind of go a little bit more aggressive because you are kind of focusing on bringing new eyes in rather than nurturing customers to keep them coming back and back. So into the bit that you actually want to watch this video for, we're going to go hit and create flow. You can use these pre-built ones, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to kind of show you how the thought process into what actually goes into building these emails for yourself, so you can implement this in your flows further down the line. So build flow, and then we're going to pick for my marketing. Whilst we're on the note of my agency, if you're a brand that's between as little as 50k a month upwards to 7 figures, feel free to use the link below and we can book a call. And what we'll do is we'll do a free deep dive into your account, highlighting the areas that we're going to need to improve. And we'll also chuck in a marketing plan on how to correct things. If all goes well, hopefully we end up working for you and crushing your numbers, especially with Q4 coming up soon. Rather, without me with the selfless plug, I'm just going to put welcome flow. Just keep it easy. Doesn't need to be that detailed. It's just the name of the flow. Create manually. So this is kind of the bit I showed you earlier, but we need to do a few more things before that. So if we go to all triggers and added to list and newsletter, just show you real quick, your lists are in here. As you can see, we actually haven't added anyone to this newsletter, but again, it is just a newsletter which comes from your sign up form. So you will just plug that in and go from there. Literally all you do is click create new list and then just go through the process of filling that out. Head back over into the flows. Before we got on a little bit of a tangent, if we click this trigger at the top, we want to add a profile filler. What this is going to do is a condition that either people will either stop receiving your email once a trigger has happened. So we want to make sure that placed order, so that means they've confirmed the order, they've actually purchased something, they want to be then removed from this flow because then they're going to be transferred into the post-purchase flow and they're going to stop receiving this as well. So place order 0 times in the last, you can just go overall time, because obviously once it gets to the end of the flow, like the end of the 4 emails, they're not going to receive things. But just to cover all angles, now jump into the fun stuff. So we want to drag Klaviyo is really easy. That's why I recommend using it for our brands that we work with. Literally, all you need to do is just drag email across. And for the sake of this video, we're just going to put 3 emails. And then if we scroll down a little bit further on the list, we can add time delays. So we don't want a time delay here. And then another time delay here as well. So when it comes to editing, you can, especially for these follow-up emails, I'll definitely suggest trying to use specific times of the day. So whether it be like 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, all depends. Again, it is a testing thing. With the specific time of day, it's going to be hard to test if you are working with a small list. So if people aren't actually being initiated into your flows on a frequent basis and you're not working with a large pool of numbers, your data can actually be quite inconclusive and you can actually go against what you're actually doing. So you could actually be hurting your results as well as this. So these time delays are all brand dependent. So the numbers that I'm saying right now, they might actually not perform well for your brand, but it is just a matter of just testing and seeing what's going to work best for you. So we just put 2 days in here. Oh, pressing F2, 2 days in there. And like I say, if you just put like 1 p.m, just so I'll show you in the video. So just put 1 p.m. and then click save. You'll see here that this is going to be sent out at 1 p.m. So this email here, this one, we'll just put 2 days again and go from there. So just a quick mention as well with settings, this is going to skip profiles if they've received an email in the last 16 hours. The first email for definite, you want to turn this off because, I mean, they're going to get this email instantly anyway, so it's not really too much of an issue. Whereas your second and third email, it can be argued that, turning this off might come across a bit of more like passive. So you're not, especially if you're sending campaigns, then you're not going to come across like spamming them 2-3 times a day. Again, it kind of does just depend on your brand. And for most instances, I do keep this turned off just to keep them pushing through the welcome series. I mean, like once that series is done, they're only going to be receiving flows that are entering to like abandoned browse abandon, the products they're looking at, or even just your win back flows and stuff like that, campaigns. For the most part, honestly, I do actually keep these profiles, I do have this turned off most of the time. Once this flow is done, people are still going to be entered into new flows if they're coming on your website. They're also going to be receiving campaigns as well, especially if they're in not your engaged bit. Once they get to the unengaged, they're going to be going through your welcome flow, sunset flow. And if they don't end up purchasing, then again, it's just going to clean your list and break it down a little bit like that. So I wouldn't really go too far into stuff. Whilst you're doing this as well, make sure to be clicking save as you go out, because you can, if you make changes and then just jump down to the next email, and then when you come back up here, everything's not saved, so you could just be doing yourself a double job there. So breaking down subject line, all you want to do is keep this really easy. So welcome to X brand, just X. You can put a little bit more detail into there, maybe a little emoji, just make it stand out a little bit, and then get 20% off your first order. Again, with your brand, if you've got your own like unique points, or you've got like sayings or a bit of branding around like the name and stuff, you can like go into a little bit more detail with that as well. You can also put like hi from brand X, whatever. Put your own twist on things, but this first, especially that subject line and preview text, is highlighting the fact that they're going to get 20% off. So that's a given, really. Just keep it easy. If we click save on that, that's then going to be saved. And then we go into select template. This is where we actually go into the design. And what you want to do is, we usually have like a design template that's already done, which is just based off images. So we don't have to use any of these templates and delete everything out of them. If your brand is using these templates, then have a word with yourself. You can definitely do a lot better with your designs. These are literally what every brand's using. So there's no way to really differentiate yourself and stand out in the inboxes. So to get to the basic one, we want to go template layout, template type, basic layout, and then we're going to be with the basic stuff. Once you get your template, you literally just want to delete everything out of here. We're not going to be using anything that's in this template. Delete. You can leave the footer and just keep everything down here. So it's going to have your unsubscribe button, links to your socials, and you can get rid of this also too. Again, with your footer, there's actually a bit in Klaviyo somewhere where you can literally just fill out all your brand's information. So you can just have all your links straight to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. So again, when you just import things, it's all going to be there anyway. You can also save these. So you save it as universal content, which then puts it into universal tab, and then you can then just drag it straight in. All your links are going to be done. It's going to save a lot of time, especially when with your campaigns, you can just drag and drop it and keep it consistent. For the sake of this video, I'll show you how to design. So we're going to drag and drop your email. As you can see, there's this black bit above and the black bit below. This is actually called padding, and for some reason these templates include padding on all their images, so it will actually crop parts of your image out and it's going to be white on there. So just go into this section, come down to padding and make sure you make that 0, and then it's going to give you the full width of the email. Sometimes I've noticed it when it's on the side, so it actually shrinks down the whole email itself. So if you're importing images, it's going to crop a little bit out, so you could be missing some information on there as well. And again, it's probably not even going to look that neat either. What we're going to do, come over to Figma. If you're not using Figma, then you really need to start, because it is a lot easier to use than other software. These ones were actually designed in Photoshop, so there's me slating Figma, other things, but it is a lot easier, in my opinion, to drag and drop things straight from Figma into Klaviyo. So if you want to press S on your keyboard and literally just drag and drop over there, as you can see, it's got 600 width, and then this is the length of the email. We do want to keep things 600 and make sure as well. One thing a lot of people, I've actually seen this quite a lot, on the sides of the email, some people it'll be cropped a little bit further like this, or it'll be cut off here, only by a couple of pixels. But in the email, especially on computer or not so much on mobile, you can actually pick this up, and again, it's just not a good look on your brand, especially for your welcome series. This is the first thing people are going to see of your brand. So you really want to go balls deep and show them how good quality your brand is, with the designs, copy, and everything like that. If you're wondering why I've actually sliced this whole image, it's because it's all going to the same page. There's no individual links on here. We're not going to reviews pages, bestsellers, whatever you might have on your website. We're just going straight to the bestsellers in this one. A lot of people I've seen that cock up on their welcome series, they end up taking people to the website, which again, it's not really the best practice. You do really want to be taking them to the it depends on what your brand is. If you've got a one product store, take them to that one product. If you've got a store with a lot of things in there, take them to the bestsellers or even collections. But I do think you probably would get better with your bestsellers. Without me waffling on, go over to export. I prefer to export mine in JPEG, because if you do use PNG, especially if you've designed them in Figma, if they've got white backgrounds, it can actually make your email see-through. So it's kind of best to keep it as a JPEG. That's just going to literally download everything as it is, and then jump over to Figma and then drag and drop. Easy as that. You can compress these emails. It depends on what your deliverability is. And again, same with images. People do have the stigma that you can't use all images, this, that, and the other. But if people are engaging with your emails, you're not getting people unsubscribed from you, and you've also got your spam traps and bounces, everything like that, you're going to be looking after your deliverability. So having all images is actually not a bad thing as well. It keeps it optimized for mobile. So if you flick over to here, it still looks just as good on mobile. You're not having to mess around with text, sorting your spacing out and things like that. It does keep things a lot easier. So yeah, I don't know who came up with this thing that you can't just use all images. It is kind of a bit of a waffle. However, if you're trying to sort your deliverability out and it's that bad, then I do recommend just running text-based on the emails. Alt text, we can just put welcome, use code hello 15 for 15% off. This text just comes up if the image doesn't load for some reason. So this is what they're going to see. So it is kind of good. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct. Just put hello, use code, whatever for whatever off. As I've already mentioned, link, we want to take them to the bestsellers, and there's no other links on here at all. As you can see, the footer down here has all their links to other different sellers. I have seen a lot of brands recently using the top banner that's saying shop now, shop bestsellers at the top. I don't necessarily agree with things. In my opinion, it's making it look more like a website. The email is supposed to have a topic on it that it's pushing forward. So the topic of this email is the 15% off. So when you're putting stuff like shop now, bestsellers, and stuff at the top that's going to take people away from the idea of this email, I do think you are best off just having one sole purpose with one sole call to action. And then obviously if they've got to the bottom of the email, they're obviously showing interest in your product. So having your bestsellers and other areas of your brand down there definitely doesn't hurt at all. For the basic of this video, I'll keep it easy and I'll just show you in Figma. You literally just want to slice this, JPEG, export, and then again, we can just drag and drop another image below, go to your downloads, drag and drop, and then build your footer out again. As I showed you before, you can make this all a universal content. So once you've built all this out and you've got all your links work, you can build this out in universal content here. So save that. And then it makes just things easier just to drag and drop in there. You want to make as much content as you can universal. Again, it just makes things a lot easier for when you're building stuff out, especially with your campaigns and keeping them all the same. So I'm going to exit out of this, and you can literally just click on here, preview, and it's going to show you kind of what people are going to expect when they see it. You can also send it to your email address. So you can also send it to your email so you can see what it looks like on your mobile and your desktop. Just literally go on preview and test, enter your email address, and also it's going to show you your total email size. So this email is actually quite small because we just used all one image, and we didn't need to compress it to reduce the size. So we've got plenty of room left, and it's not going to be clipped from Google. By now we have built out the first email. I'm not going to go into how to build out the other ones because obviously I've just shown you that there. It's all pretty straightforward. So this is your basic welcome flow. Don't overcomplicate things. You don't need some conditions in there. We don't even know what people are interested in when they're in your welcome flow. They're just brand new on your site. So keep things easy, keep the content good, and then you'll be on for a winner. I'm going to go through a few mistakes that brands and even agencies have been making with their welcome flow series. As I mentioned before, one of the big mistakes is your links. So you actually want to make sure, for starters, your links work and they're going to the right part of the website. Number two, you want to make sure your links are relevant. You want to make sure that when they're clicking your discount or whatever in your welcome flow series, it's going to your product page. If you're a one-stop store, your best sellers, or even collections, they want to get straight onto instant value for your products. They don't want to be going to your website because, again, it just adds another step in there for them to look around, start browsing and stuff like that. We're making things as easy as we can for our subscribers. Number two, you'll be quite surprised on this one, is your Shopify discount codes. The amount of brands that have stuff that are all over the place. So have a discount code saying welcome 15, but in Shopify it's welcome 10 or whatever it might be. So these discount codes aren't going to work at all. Again, you're going to see a hit with that one especially. Number two, on your pop-up, it's going to show you like, oh, sign this and get 10% off when you're actually offering 15. Again, it just looks unprofessional. And I get it, it happens. People are testing different things. If one discount code is not working, one discount amount's not working, you're going to try a different one. And then obviously things do get messed up, but just make sure that's on your check sheet and you're completing this. Today we're going to be breaking down your abandoned checkout flow. How to create a high converting one that is going to be doing numbers for your brand. This is definitely one of the more higher intent flows that you're going to be doing. With the cart, it's pretty much when someone adds something to the cart, they click off your website and then they don't end up purchasing. So they could be either just saving these items in their cart, to come back later on. And, people do get caught up with the day. So you just reminded them they've got these items in there. You reminded them the items and your brand. So again, it is quite a high intent one. It's not like they've got to the checkout and they haven't gone ahead with it. So this one, it's just a little bit of a nudge, reminded them that they've been looking at these items and they've obviously shown some form of interest. So without further ado, we're going to be breaking down how to structure your emails, how to implement things, and how to build it all in Klaviyo. So starting off with the first email, we have the return to cart button quite high up and an imagery of what they're going to expect. With this email, it's obviously the first one. It's going to be sent roughly between an hour or 2 hours after they've added something to their cart and they haven't purchased. We have a little bit of copy down here which mentions, life gets busy. So, if they've got kids, they're out with their friends, they get a bit distracted and they forget about their cart. So we're just doing a gentle reminder that they've got stuff in the cart. You will notice here it says dynamic block return to cart. So this is a interactive block from Klaviyo that actually pulls information from your customer and it shows the items they've added to their cart. So obviously your email is then relevant to the fact that, these items are in their cart and we're just showing things like that. So on to the next email. It is a little bit less aggressive. This is a higher ticket items for what they're selling. So it's like $190 for like trousers, which, is on the higher end of things. It's a bit more luxury. So this email is more about convincing them why they should actually purchase these items. And we're not actually showing them the items they added to the cart. We're just going through showing like social proof, the community, things that people have to say. In the video I did mention before, these emails work a lot better if you've got, like real life images of people wearing these clothes. So not just like models, your customers and real life images. They definitely do add a lot more validity to like the fact that, people do enjoy wearing your clothes. These emails, I call these like the filler emails. So between your first email and last email, the emails in between are like your fillers. So this is like a perfect time to, showcase more of your products, why they should purchase things, the social proof, the reviews. There's a lot more time to spread things out and show people like what you actually have to offer as a brand. As I mentioned before, this is only a 3-part email, and you can definitely take this into the the 4s and 5s, adding a little bit more and spreading it across a longer period of time. This is definitely would be for something more like an expensive piece of furniture. Say you're buying a desk for $200. You're going to take a little bit of time to think, do I actually want this desk? You potentially could be comparing other offers as well. So staying fresh in the customer's mind is key to this. The last email is a lot more incentive. So like usually on your last 2 emails, if it's like a 5-part one, emails 4 and 5, they could be more of an urgency based one. So as you can see here, return to cart. We've saved your cart, but not for long. Adding a little bit of urgency here. You can add a discount code in here as well, but with this brand, we don't actually tend to give out discount codes easily because we've trained our customers to actually purchase at full price more than waiting around for a discount code. Because a lot of these brands, they do rely on the fact that they're going to be doing discount codes on like a weekly, monthly basis. Customers are going to get to a point where they're going to be starting waiting for your discount codes, and then you are just missing out on profit there. So let's jump back into Klaviyo, and we will go through on how to actually create this flow. So if we click on create flow, we can actually use a custom one for this one. So coming onto the create flow, if we literally just type in cart, it's going to come up with all these reminders, and we just click on this as well. As you can see, this account has been added to Shopify, so it's all integrated and everything's all in order. So we can just literally click use template. So this email actually has a conditional split for your SMS. So if we just go on here and delete, and then if we go onto the yes path, that's then going to delete the SMS. So it's literally just a straight line of all your emails. So the actual profile fillers that Klaviyo automatically applies, they're actually pretty good. However, the only thing you can change is has not been in the flow for 7 days. You can actually put this to like a higher time, like 10 to 14 days. And I have seen brands go higher. It's all just dependent on how aggressive you want to be. So I know a lot of people from like personal experience with like customers, they use their cart as like a way of saving items rather than like putting into their saved. So if they're adding items on the regular, you're going to be sending them and they're going to be initiated into more flows. So it is going to come across quite spammy and, kind of turn away from that. So let's jump into the delay times. 4 hours is way too long. Like even let's say, for example, you're up at 8, 9 o'clock, you've added something to your cart, you're waiting 4 hours, they're going to be asleep. So having something like with a little bit of urgency, depending on the value of your items and the average order values, if you're on like a lower average order value, you can put it like to 1 hour. You can be quite aggressive with it. If it's a little bit longer, you can go for 2. But this first email, I would probably stick to 1 hour. We'll go through on how to implement things and use the dynamic block in a minute. But we're just going to go through timing and stuff like that. The first email wants to be exactly 24 hours after. I'll make sure to hit save as well, actually, while I'm here. So save. The first email wants to be 24 hours, like a day after when they've added to cart. So this obviously is going to show that they're in some form of pattern. So we want to be targeting them at the time that they've actually added it to the cart. So as you can see here, it's a 1 hour wait. So what we're actually going to do is put this at 23 hours because that's then going to account for this 1 hour, and it's then going to send it the exact same time that they entered it into their cart last time. Email number 2, and then if we chuck in another time delay here and another email here. Time delay, this one can be, depending on how aggressive you want to be, it can be another day or it could be 2 days, like 48 hours. For a 3-part email, I would probably keep this to 48 hours, spread it over a little bit of time, and it gives them a little bit of time to ponder and think on things. And then it does have the last bit of urgency there. If you're running a longer series, you can put this to 24 hours from there, another 24, and then maybe make it 48 on the last one, just to prolong it a little bit more. But for this one, for the sake of this video, we are going to do a 3-part email series. In the first video, I have actually already shown you kind of, you're already there to know how to write a subject line and preview text. In this one, you just want to create a little bit of like, spark a bit of curiosity, saying like, oh, you've forgotten this. In the preview text, saying a little bit about your brand, like, you're missing out on your comfy new pajamas, whatever product you might be sending. So let's jump into the email and go into edit. As you can see here, we have a little thing here. This is called a dynamic block, and it's split up with an image, name, and this is actually going to show the price, and it's going to have a call to action button as well, so they can click straight into their cart. There's also a button here that says make your purchase, and here you can see it says event URL. So then that's going to use the URL created here, and it's going to take them straight back to their cart. So it's very important that you make the process super easy. They don't want to go back onto the website, add everything they've just added to the cart again. You want to save this cart and just press a button. They have it all in front of them. So then they can either like remove items or just go ahead and straight purchase things. For the ease of this video, we're just going to delete the headers, delete the text, and we're going to keep this block here, and we're going to keep this button here for the time being too. Just delete that. So first of all, we're going to add an image above here and jump over to this and press S on the keyboard and select this. As you can see, I've already sliced this as it was actually put into the original 𝐂𝐤𝐚𝐽. I've seen a few people as well on tutorials or watching myself. When they're jumping around, they don't actually hit the borders properly. So it's very important to make sure you're actually on the border of the email. I've seen people, you know, like they've gone a little bit short. So when you import the next image in, it's like almost like a zigzag. It's all skew with. So make sure when you're slicing, you are doing it to a very good level. So if we go to JPEG and done, upload an image. And I'm just going to click original for this one. Cool. So want to put your alt text in here. So soft, cozy, and almost yours. Return to cart. God, I can't type. So the link address you actually want to be putting on this is what is on this button here. So if we just copy and paste the link address here and jump onto that, boom, that is all good there. And then as you can see on this last one, it does have text in there, but we'll just slice this. You could have sliced it all in one, to be honest with you. One thing you want to make sure is every single image you're importing into your email wants to have some form of link attached to it. You don't want to leave any image without a link on it. I think people are getting to the point that they are aware that emails you can just kind of click anything and it's just not the button. So just make sure everything's like this, and it's going to take them straight across to their saved cart. So when we get to the actual button, you can see this is blue. That means it's hyperlinked. Obviously, it's going to be, if we click on the link, event URL. So that means when they click it, it's going to take them to their cart. We can just change the color of this to black. This one, you can actually use a drop tool, and it's kind of like a off brownie what you're using for this one. Or it might actually look a bit better with the gold. Click on the gold, and there's that done too. Also, you want to make sure that we can actually change this text color to jump into Figma and then text. And then we can just get the hex code here. There are tools that you can use for this, but it's just easier for me to jump like that. So the text is matching everything and it's all looking congruent. The only one thing we need to do is change the font. So 𝐂𝐤𝐽 does actually have most fonts in here, and I know this one is Poppins, which actually hasn't been added. So you'll obviously check with the designer what font you've used. As you can see here, it's Poppins, and then this one is 𝐶𝐤𝐿𝐿𝐿. So make sure just to use, you know, the font that you're actually using in your email. Keep everything the same. For this one, obviously I'm not going to do it because it's not been installed. You can actually add fonts, drag them across and get them into 𝐂𝐤𝐽. Dynamic block here. We actually don't have a button on the website, but we can keep it the same. So with your buttons, you want to make sure that the buttons are exactly the same as what you use on the website. So if you have radius buttons or you don't, for example, this one we don't. So I'm going to put 0 radius there. Change the color to this gold color. We can keep the text white too. Obviously, we change the font to whatever the call to action buttons are as well. And return to cart. Cool. And then with these buttons down here, you can actually make these a little bit longer. So here you can go to like 30. It's just going to make the button look a little bit longer. Also increase text size as well here. So 20, depending on how big you want your button. And like so. Also, don't forget, you've obviously got your footers and everything like that. You can build these out, so you can just drag and drop them. I'll show you in here. This is for a different brand on their 𝐂𝐤𝐽 account. So you can go into style, universal, and then somewhere in here will be the footer. Here we go, footer, and then you can just drag and drop. So it's going to have all your social media links, any link that you have to shop and stuff like that. Saves you like having to do it every time, link it all together and waste your time. I've just noticed one thing that Klaviyo does like to do, they tend to add, as you can see here, there's padding around the button. Remove this padding because on dark mode it's going to show up as black, so it's going to make your buttons look a little bit odd. Oh, do that. Especially on images, it's not too bad on a button, but for this, we want to go for that. Then the button, here we have a drop shadow as well, which is automatically applied. We can just press minus on that and then it's going to get rid of it. So it's just all one button. Obviously, don't get me wrong, this red footer does not go with it, so don't worry about that at all. Also to mention with this, if we go on to styles, you have the block background color. So as you can see, it's just made it all black. So if we just remove the padding on this, let's say, for example, this full email was this red color. What you can do is you can go on here, click block background and make it red. So it's going to look all the same throughout your email. Obviously, this is a bad example because it's not going to go with the design we're showing. But just for the sake of the video, if it suits your brand, you can change the background color to suit. So obviously, it's going to look all like one email. This one, we'll just keep it white for the sake of the video. Awesome. So that email is built out. So if you click preview and test, as you can see, it's pulled in something that someone's actually been clicking on. Again, this is a different Klaviyo account to what we're actually using. So it's pulled in someone's dynamic thing. So someone's added at this date and it's pulled in, you know, what they've been looking at. So it's a dynamic block. And also the total size is miles below. So it's not going to get clipped in Google at all. So everything's all good on that end. You can also use this bit here, send it to your email address, have a look what it looks like on your mobile phone, which obviously, because we've used images, it's going to be fine. And that looks cool there. On your, you can check on your mobile phone. Also check on dark mode on your mobile phone. Make sure everything looks smooth. I've seen from brands I've audited recently, let's say, for example, their logo's here. They've actually just imported a JPEG of their logo rather than like a full image. So when you go into dark mode, you've just got an image with a white box around it, which doesn't look professional at all. So click exit, and then obviously you would have filled out all your names and subject lines. This one, just put which is our agency, email 1, and then done. That is your first email done. So obviously you'd repeat this for everyone. We've already gone through timings and how to set everything up on that. So now we are at the end of the video. We have just broke down how to build a basic abandoned cart reminder and using the Shopify triggers and template from Klaviyo. This is a easy design. There's nothing simple about it. There's nothing like complicated at all. The only things that you can mess around with, as I mentioned before, you can change obviously your days here, change the times between emails. You can run some A/B tests and see which performs better for your brand. And obviously start capturing some people that have got some intent to purchase your products. So we're going to be going through your post-purchase, so like your thank you flows. And in this video, we're going to be going through what to expect, how to structure your emails, and then obviously how to implement into Klaviyo as well, which is shown in every video. If you're new to this series and you haven't watched anything, be sure to check out the previous episodes where we go through the welcome flow and abandoned cart. This one, we're going to go through the post-purchase, so stay tuned and we'll be breaking it down for you bit by bit. I was actually watching a video the other day and I heard a really good analogy, and I don't know if it's actually related to like the welcome flow, but it's almost like related to marketing in general. So how Uber actually structures their taxi service. So you order Uber, you see the taxi driver driving to you, then you get in the car and then you see yourself actually moving towards that location. The whole like psychology behind this is you're actually seeing constant progression. So even if your taxi is saying like a 20-minute wait, you can see it coming towards you, you can see the location, you can see where it's actually at. So you know something's happening and you can see it coming towards you. So you don't actually mind the wait. Whereas let's say, for example, you call your local cab company up and you don't have a clue where they are. They say they're going to be here at X time and they've just gone past the time. You don't actually know where they are. So in your mind, you're going to be like, right, can I get a faster way of getting home? What else can I do? Who can I call? And then you start looking around, moving away from their actual service. So Uber is a very good way of looking at the welcome flow series, because especially with drop shipping brands, if your shipping time's a little bit longer, you know, you're waiting like, I don't know, a week for your item to even arrive, you can be sending like partway through bits of emails saying like what to expect from your emails. We've had a slight delay. When, you know, drop shipping, there's obviously going to be some slight delays. So when you say that it's had like a delay after 3 days, when it arrives, say 5 days later, in reality, that's actually quite quick. So it's better than a week's delay than, you know, like a 4 or 5 day delay. I think it's a good point to mention as well. You know, when you see it on your orders, when it comes through like the Shopify delivery, so it comes up saying order confirmed, your location, delivery, and etc. I think it's important to keep that as well, because it does have that element of trust, being that near enough every store like that's related to Shopify does have this post-purchase flow going through. So I would keep that, and then have your own email flow, sent like a 10-minute delay afterwards. So this is a flow we've designed for one of our clients. It's actually quite a simple flow. There's not a great deal to it. Depending on what your brand is, if it needs a little bit more, like your shipping times are longer, you can obviously long the thank you flow out, and then be following up for some upsells and more purchases in the future. So straight after the order, they're obviously going to get a order confirmation from Shopify or your shop supplier. So we wait 10 minutes, so they almost get like a little bump afterwards, reminding them of their product. This is going to go into the conditional split. So we have 2-part series on this, and again, depending on how many times people order from you, ordering what product, stuff like that, you can actually make these flows a lot bigger. So you can have, after more orders, it can keep getting bigger and bigger, because if they are ordering multiple times, they don't want to be seeing the same thank you letters every time, when in reality they are kind of the same email. It's just, structured different to say thank you for ordering again. So the first email, let's break it down into Figma. So the first email is literally just a thank you for choosing us, a little bit about the brand, what to expect. So here we're going through what's happening next. Team's going to be preparing the order, shipping it as soon as they get the details, and then if they've got any questions as well. This email isn't really focused on selling. I don't really tend to include any shop now buttons, because they have just bought. And jumping straight into the second email. So this one, especially for the fashion brand, I'm using this brand to keep it all the same throughout, so you can kind of get a rough idea of, our thought process behind things. So this one, it does have a shop now button, and we kind of are encouraging them to go back onto the website and have a browse again. But what we're actually breaking down in here is the care tip. So with this being like a high quality fabric, wash it on cold, tumble dry at a low temp, and avoid bleach. So this is like aftercare tips of the product. So if you have something like a supplement, for example, you can break it down to what they're going to experience, say like 1 week into things, 2 weeks, a month. Again, because people, especially with supplements, it does have a delayed effect of when you're actually going to start seeing the benefits. So definitely by detailing stuff in here, it does kind of prepare people what to expect with your product. And it does just build up the hype and get them ready for what's coming next. The fourth email, especially with this one, our founder is really close with her brand. So we've written like an almost personal message from her saying thank you, like where the brand's begun, the whole background behind like the loungewear, the materials, the production, and then a little like, it's like a low-key click now, like to link to the bestsellers. There's no real like big buttons that are going to click through to here. It is just a text-based email. It's a good pattern interrupt, and it just feels a lot more personal when it comes written from the founder, even though like, obviously it's automated, but it does have that personal touch, and it's a little bit different than just seeing like an image come through like that. So last email of the series is going to be almost like your chance to upsell, start promoting a few more products, and then, because by now they probably should have received your order if your shipping's pretty good. So they're probably going to be at the point where if they like your stuff and they're in that like hype mindset, then showing them some more stuff what they can buy is definitely going to increase your conversions when it comes to upsells. So here we have a dynamic block where it's going to just bring up the best sellers, anything, or it could be just new products, something that you want to be pushing at that moment in time. I find things, especially with the store that has quite a lot of images, it's easier to keep a dynamic block, especially with products changing so quickly, best sellers going out of stock, and it just helps you keep on top of things. However, if you're like a one product store or you have like less products on your store, I'd definitely recommend having it more image based rather than using these blocks, because these blocks do load a little bit slower and they can be a little bit laggier when it comes to emails. So definitely keep that in mind with, choosing if you're going to use a product or your dynamic block. So these two emails over here, the little stragglers, these are the ones which you can actually make this flow longer, as I mentioned before. And then obviously, if you're doing like more follow-ups, if they're repeat ordering over X amount of time, we can add some more into this, but I'm just keeping it basic for the video. These two are your stragglers for if they've purchased before. So if the order equals one or more. So, hey, welcome back. And then we've got a little bit of text saying, thanks for coming back, making them feel appreciative for keeping their business with us. And then here's like what happens next. So it is pretty much the same email as here. And then in the next one, this is almost like they're going to be entered into the VIP section for this brand. So that means they're going to get exclusive access to discounts and early access. So especially with this brand, products sell out quick. And once they're sold out, they're not going to be able to get them again. So having VIP gives them first access to these drops. So to make sure they're going to secure their product. So this one, because your loyalty means everything to us, a little thank you on behalf of the family. You'll be the first to know it's like new arrivals, exclusive content behind the scenes. So it does make them feel a little bit more special, you know, like they're going to be rewarded for keeping their business with us. And as I mentioned, they're going to be entered into the VIP flow. So we can set this up in your list and segments, just have everything in terms of like, depending on what you class as your VIP. So if they've ordered once or more, you know, you could have them as your VIPs, or you could make it a different number depending on how like aggressive you want to be with your VIPs and stuff like that. So you don't want it to become something that everyone can get a hold of. Or, like, you don't want it to become across like really easy for people to get, because then the perceived value does drop. But you know, depending on what your brand is, how many customers, your repeat customers. If you haven't got many repeat customers, you could just keep it to like one-time buyers and then add them into the VIP. So let's jump into creating the flow. So in Klaviyo, you want to just click create a flow, and simple as that, just type in thank you. And this one, I'm not going to be teaching SMS in this because it is an email marketing course. So I'm just going to be going into returning customers on here. So it's got the conditional split in here, and click use template. I have seen it before where brands are using this one day delay. I'm not entirely against it. It depends on your brand. In my opinion, I like to keep things 10 minutes apart, or testing it a little bit further, maybe half an hour, because obviously they are going to get their order confirmation, their shipping and stuff like that, and then they're going to get a thank you from the brand. So it can quite be overwhelming with the amount of emails they receive from you. So definitely testing your delay time around that. In my opinion, 1 day is too far. Even if you are on a high ticket brand, I still do think it is quite far in my opinion. So delete this, and we want to come into triggers and set profile fillers. Add profile, what someone has or not done, and then choose metric, placed order 0 times since starting this flow, and then click save. So what this is going to do is, let's say for example someone purchases today, you then send an email out for your upsells, they then purchase again, then you're going to be sending them, entering them into the exact same flow again. So you don't want to be spamming them with the same emails over and over and over again. So having this in there will definitely, you know, break that up. And once they're done with that, they're going to be out of the flow. Then once they've a couple of days or however long has come past and they actually purchase from you again, they'll be entered into the flow once again. So this one actually has a conditional split in it, as the one I showed you earlier did. Has place order equals 1 over all times. That means they've purchased from you before. So in this one, you can tailor your content to people that are, you know, as I mentioned, showed you earlier in them images, they've purchased from you more than once, so you can enter them into your VIP flows, make them feel a bit more special for purchasing from you. So let's chuck some more emails in. I'm going to keep it a little bit more simpler. So this one, we'll chuck 2 emails over here, and we'll make this a 4-part series over here. What I'm going to be doing is I'll tell you the timings between, and then in the email name, I'm going to break down what content to include. So you can take a screenshot of things, and then you can replicate this for your brand. So this is what your email flows should look like once you've imported all your emails and your time delays. Now I'm going to be breaking down your time delays in between each email, and I'll put in the email name what to include in this email, so you can just take a screenshot of this flow and then replicate it for your own brand and make it all good for yourself. So we have gone 2 days here for email 2. So this is going to be almost like a little follow-up to say, you know, what to expect, like shipping times, delivery, stuff like that. Especially if you're a drop shipping brand, you can like say, like, look, we've got a delay. And then it's like that Uber thing I mentioned earlier, they can actually like feel the thing progressing towards them, especially if like, you know, you're drop shipping and the shipping times are a little bit longer. This one, again, I'll probably would go between 2 to 3 days in this one. And in the third email, you can go into a little bit more detail of what to expect from your product. So what to expect, like I mentioned earlier, if you're a supplement brand, you know, results that you're going to get from purchasing things. Clothing brand, like how you're going to feel wearing it, you know, like the soft qualities, stuff like that. So how you're going to feel. Last one is a upsell. So when I mean upsell, you can just be, it doesn't have to be necessarily upselling them. It's just retargeting them with a few more items of your product. So by now they've probably had enough time to wear things. So we can delay this by about 5 days. And they've had enough time to wear things. You know, if they like your product, they're obviously going to be more interested, especially seeing an email come through to think, right, see what else they've got that can make my experience with like clothes better. So especially if it's clothing, you know, they've brought trousers, and they might be interested in a top, for example. So you can especially make it a little bit more, personalized to that customer, especially if you're going into that amount of detail. Same on this side, so thank you for that. And then we're going to go 5 days on this one. And then this one, you can actually mention the loyalty program. Or if you wanted to throw another email in between, you can do upsells again. So how this would look is literally exactly the same as this. Maybe go round about the same time, to be honest. Add in a upsell and then your loyalty program again. The loyalty program is dependent on your brand. If you actually want to introduce loyalty programs, then that's all down to you. So now we've got everything planned out. If you want to take a screenshot of this, there should be enough time for you to see everything. So it's got your timers, all your emails, your days, and everything like that. So you can take a screenshot, break it all down to how it would suit your brand, and then go from there. If you haven't watched any of my tutorials, I actually show you how to build these in Klaviyo. So I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial now and show you how to actually import your designs. If you've been and seen all this stuff before, you can tune out for this video. So I'd like to say a massive thank you for watching. If you are tuning out, feel free to subscribe and like, and stay tuned for the next video. So while we've deleted everything out of here, we are just going to bang in an image and jump over to Figma. So for this one, I'm actually just going to slice the whole email because there's no buttons in it. We don't need to use text and stuff like that. Make sure to export in JPEG as well, because if you use PNG and you've got transparent backgrounds, this is going to play a nightmare when it comes to, like dark mode and stuff like that. The reason why I actually choose importing a whole image over text and breaking it down into bits like that, I think even no matter how well you optimize your emails for dark mode, there's only so much you can do with it. So just having it all as one image is completely fine. It's going to have the same call to action button on there. And I'm going to not compress this for this one. And done. And then make sure to put your alt text. Thanks for choosing. And then we can link this to, you never really want to link things to the homepage. So if we go to bestsellers and just link it to bestsellers, bang. And then this is going to, the reason why as well with emails that work so well, this whole image is going to be a link, so they can just click straight through, no problem at all, and they don't have to faff around with things. And then obviously your footer, I've mentioned in previous videos, you can literally just have a universal block for your footer, so you can just drag and drop. Obviously this isn't the same brand, so the color scheme is completely different as well. One thing with images as well to mention, I'm just going through this quick because I have mentioned it in all the other videos. Your padding, you want to make sure your padding is 0, because if I put this padding at 10, you see how that's just like overlap the image. And then on dark mode, it's just going to look stupid because it's then going to flick to black and then your image is going to be outlined, which we don't want to be going with at all. So now this is done, preview and test. As you can see, this email is miles under and it's not at risk of being clipped. Then you can test it, sending it to your mobile, checking it on your computer. Again, with importing all images, which people don't tend to do for some reason, but all the top brands do, we do it and we see massive results. When you actually look at mobile, because we make it to 600 wide pixels, that means it's then going to fit perfect in your mobile phone, and you're not having to shrink text. This amount of text, if you done it in a text box on Klaviyo, wouldn't fit very well on your screen, and then you're going to have to faff around with making it fit between desktop, mobile, and it's just a hassle that you don't really want to be seeing. So today we're going to be going through how to create a high converting win-back flow. As you can see here, we've done the post-purchase flow, abandoned cart, welcome series. So now we're going through the win-back one. So we're going to be going through how to actually structure it around your brand. So going around when people actually be looking to purchase again. Also the designs and then the implementation on Klaviyo. So stay tuned. So this is what the flow is actually going to look like on Klaviyo once it's done. Here we're actually running a 3 email flow. And before we actually jump into things, I'm going to be going through the timing and kind of how many emails you should actually structure in your own setup before we go into the design. So as you can see here, we've got a 75-day time between when they place the order. So we want to obviously get them to reorder again. Depending on what brand you are running, whether it be in fashion, supplements, anything along them lines of food, for example, as well, these times are all going to change. So let's say, for example, you're running a food brand, you're selling like cookies or pasta, something along them lines. We've actually done it for a alternative pasta brand. And these lead times are going to be a lot shorter because it's not going to take 75 days to eat a box of pasta. You're going to want to bring this down closer to maybe 30 days, even 2 weeks, depending on how aggressive you want to be. I would definitely suggest testing these out. 30 days is not a bad idea. Secondly, if you are running a brand, for example, like a supplement brand or something that needs to be replenished, even like contact lenses, depending on how much, like the quantity of the item you're selling. So say you're selling 30 capsules of a supplement, that then means in 30 days time, well, depending on if you take one per day, in 30 days, they're going to run out. So you want to be sending them reminders to win them back at the second time round as a customer. So right now we've got this set as 75 days. Even for fashion brands, we actually have run this at 90 days and sometimes a little bit more, because if you're running, let's say, a seasonal brand that, say, changes in the seasons, let's say it goes from like summer dresses into, like jeans and that sort of thing when it comes to winter and fall, we want to be making sure that we're sending the win back in these seasons, because obviously people are going to be renewing their wardrobes. They're going to be more inclined to purchase from you again when they see your new season dropping. Even new seasons, it's a good idea to drop this as well to make sure people that have bought quite a while ago, they're maybe not interacting with your stuff, and then you want to try and win them back. So jumping into Figma, I'm going to be going through kind of the ideology around the whole 3 email series. So with this fashion brand, which we've used all throughout the series, I'm just going to keep these same emails. They're not going to look like your traditional e-com emails with all the fancy designs on there. This one's just trying to stay on brand with the fashion brand, keep it simple, and everything on brand. So as you can see, this first email, we're actually using a 15% code. So for customers that have already been, they haven't purchased in 90 days, for example, we're going to want to show them a code to try and get them back in the door, back in the ecosystem, and back wearing your clothes or buying your product. So this doesn't necessarily have to be for every brand, but obviously price is dependent, and a 15% is definitely a great nudge to win people back. Obviously this would be different if you're sending to non-customers, but this one is just going to be targeted at customers. So jumping into the second email, this one is to kind of get everyone over the objections, especially for dropshipping brands. If you've sold stuff before, your shipping times have been like 3-4 weeks, you can be going saying, we've improved shipping, we've improved packaging, we've improved the product, and we're selling it for the same price. So this is a good way of getting over objections, depending on what objections people may come. For example, this one, it's on the higher end of loungewear, so we want to be showing that people are actually coming back, buying things, reviews and stuff like that. And then the third email, which is why I actually run 3 emails compared to a lot of people running 2, gives you a good chance to run a bit of urgency. So we can say that your offer's going to expire in 24 hours. This is your last chance to get 15% off, and it's like the last time to pretty much convert them. So this is the way I would structure the 3 emails, depending on your brand and your setup. Obviously, if it's an e-com brand, you can go a lot more imagery and that whole e-com style of designing, depending on your brand. So I'm going to jump into Klaviyo. I'm going to show you how to make this from scratch. So when you come into Creative Flow, you just want to type in win back, and it's going to come up with a load of templates. In this one, we're just going to stick to standard. So this one is email and SMS. And again, email SMS for WooCommerce. So we're using Shopify in this example, and we just want to use template. As mentioned before, going through the timing so you can kind of get a gist of how many emails you want to be sending. You want to make sure that you're sending at the top saying recipient's location and time zone. So Klaviyo is automatically going to put this as wherever you're based. So if you're based in England, obviously that's going to set it to BST. Or, if you're based in America, it's going to be either, Eastern, Central, however it may be. For something that hasn't, for someone that hasn't purchased for 75 days, that means they've then been in your ecosystem for 75 days at least. So make sure to turn skipped recently emailed profiles off, because the likelihood of them receiving emails, maybe they've received some of your campaigns, but you make sure they definitely want to be receiving your first email. So if we remove recently skipped profiles and go from there. So in the basic templates, we just want to delete everything what's in here, as it's really not relevant to us whatsoever. I'm not using any dynamic blocks. We're not needing any links, so we can just literally remove everything. And then place an image in here, then we can jump straight back into Figma and slice. I see a lot of people talking about, you can't use images, you can't just use full base images, you need to use some HTML, code in this and the other. However, the time it takes just to do one email of HTML, it doesn't really add up, and it's not really worth the time. And so sticking to images, as long as you get 9 out of 10 things correct, so your deliverability is on point, all your backend set up, and you're managing your list, making sure that your opens, even sending good content as well, making sure your click-throughs on your campaigns, your flows are all good, your deliverability is going to be absolutely fine. So running no images is definitely not going to be a major issue. So when I actually stick to slicing, I mainly just stick to one call to action. So let's see, for example, here, these are all going to take you to the collections page, bestsellers. So you can actually just get away with slicing the whole thing in one. It doesn't need to be sliced in different bits because it's just all the same image really. So we go on to the right hand side, export, PNG. We want to change this to JPEG. In case we've used any PNG images here, it's going to show no background. So when you actually import it, it's just going to come up with the little just going to come up with the white and grey crossed out background. So if we export slice here, and then save to downloads, jump straight back into 𝐂𝐤𝐿 and upload the image. So uploading it straight in, we want to put the alt text here. We've been thinking about you. So this is pretty much anything what comes up if the image doesn't load, for example, anything along them lines. So just keep it simple, nothing too spammy. So don't really want to include like discounts like 15% off in case it does get picked up as spam. And then what you want to do in the linked address, you want to be you don't want to be taking this to the homepage. You want to be making it as easy as possible for people to get back into action of shopping. So either straight to a product display page if you're advertising that, or straight to your bestsellers or collections. So you don't want to send them to the homepage. They'll get distracted looking around, seeing what else you have to offer. If you just take them straight to the bestsellers or collections, the likelihood of them converting is definitely going to be a lot higher. Once you've entered your list, make sure that, especially when you're actually slicing, I've mentioned this in all the other videos, but make sure that your slice is right up against the borders. And I've seen a lot of times on these tutorials on YouTube, people are leaving gaps like this. So when you actually import it, you're seeing like a white gap. It's just slightly off-centered. And even when they're slicing different things, let's say they slice this and then they slice the text. If they're not lined up, again, you're going to see little like shifts and tilts in your slicing, which is just not going to look good on the finished result. The main thing as well, which is really good about just importing straight images, is when you flick to mobile, it's going to stay exactly the same. So with this text, especially if you was just to input it straight with 𝐂𝐤𝐿, it's then you're gonna have to duplicate it, add one for mobile, and then make sure that it is all fitted to the mobile screen, because obviously desktop's going to be a lot wider, as you can see here. With the text, it's going to just cram it all in. So it's a lot easier just to use images. Then we want to go on preview and test. You can send this straight to your email and your inbox. So you can check on mobile, you can check with dark mode. Again, this is another great reason for using image-based emails, because you're not having to deal with dark mode. Like if this was done with HTML or you're just using 𝐂𝐤𝐿, this would switch from white to black, and then all these buttons down here and your footer is going to just look different. It's going to throw it all off, and it's just going to be going against your email design. Secondly, when you're in the preview mode, you want to check the total size. As you can see here, it's miles under, not a risk of being clipped by Google, so everything is a winner. When we're done, we just want to label this, keep this as, we can just change this to agency. So my agency name is Mario Marketing and win back email 1. And then in the subject line, we want to make it clear that saying we miss you, here's 15% off. And then we want to go with the preview text, come get cozy with 𝐑𝐞𝐥𝐚𝐭. I've not gone into too much effort when it comes to this, as you know, it's obviously subject line and preview text is based around your brand. However, if you are offering a discount, I would recommend putting it in your subject line, because if you look on mobile phone, especially if that's where most of your customers are coming from, the subject line is going to be at the top of your notification email. 15% in the subject line is going to stand out a lot more than if it was in the preview text. So especially with win-back, you're trying to re-gauge people's attention, get them back in your ecosystem. So making it clear as possible that they're going to get 15% off in their email. Especially with this email, I think we actually could have redesigned it a little bit better and had it a little bit higher up, saying get your discount code straight away, rather than them having to scroll down in the email. Could definitely hurt us on the click-throughs. However, something we're aware of, and it's definitely going to be monitored with this brand. Then we click done, and that is the first email inputted. And then you want to repeat that for the other 2 emails if you choose to go for a 3 email sequence. With these times in between, I wouldn't really say they make too much difference. You could maybe reduce this to 7 days, 10 days, and then for the 3rd email, again, another 5 to 6 days. It doesn't really make too much difference after this. Like if they don't convert on the first email, then the likelihood of them converting on the 2nd and 3rd obviously going to be reduced. So depending on how aggressive you want to be, changing this between anywhere from 5 to 15 days is not too bad in general. Again, you'd be running these tests. Are these tests going to bring you any extra value? Probably not, but it's definitely something that you can choose to run. and we're going to be going through the sunset flow, which is arguably one of the most important things to keeping your list nice and healthy and your emails landing in the inbox. How the sunset flow works is it cleans out all the old redundant leads. So let's say they haven't interacted with your emails, they haven't clicked on any of them, they haven't even been on your website. It's then going to remove them from your list. That means when you're sending your campaigns, it's only going to be sending to people that are actually interested in your product and actually want to purchase or potentially purchase. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down how we actually structure the emails, the whole strategy behind it, and then lastly, how to set everything up on Klaviyo. So stay tuned for all that. And we're breaking down everything bit by bit so you fully understand the process. So we're actually staying with the fashion brand we showed before in all the other tutorials, keeping everything the same, so it's kind of got the same background of marketing all throughout. And as you can see here, there's no designs on anything what we're sending here. I've actually found with the sunset flow, we've had better results with keeping people and maybe the higher purchases, but in general, it's not really a flow that's going to generate you a lot of revenue. The whole goal is to clean out your list. And if they don't want to react with your content, it doesn't resonate with them, then we're more than happy to suppress them, remove them from the list, bring down our Klaviyo bill, and only be targeting people that actually want to receive our content. So the reason why I actually send text-based emails in the sunset flow is because overall it does have a high deliverability, so the chances are it's going to land in the inbox, which is brilliant. And we do have all the chances of them actually being reminded of your brand and then clicking to stay subscribed. Also as well, it's like a nice little pattern interrupt. It looks a lot more personal. Like this one here is purely just a text-based email. There's no logos, no nothing else like that. It's literally just like an email as if me and you were sending emails between us on our personal account. Comes across a lot more personal, and again, it breaks up the pattern, so it actually thinks, oh, I might actually read this and see what they have involved. And then secondly, we do have another follow-up email. You don't want to send too many emails with this sunset flow because it is really going to hurt your deliverability. The more emails you're sending to more unengaged people, your opens are going to drop, and your click-throughs, well, they're not even going to exist if people don't open them. So keeping it to 2 emails is nice and easy. The second email, we have included a little bit more text in there, design in there to make it seem a little bit more creative, stand out a little bit more, giving them the last chance to actually sign up or stay signed on to our mailing list. The way we do this is literally by opening the email and then clicking onto your website. That'll then keep them refreshed within our ecosystem. There is also, if you go into this, you can throw some designs in there. There's nothing stopping you from doing designs. Another good one, we don't actually run many discounts with this brand. However, you can more than offer them a discount to come back. It's like a 10%, 15%, just to get them back on the site and then potentially using your item. So now I'm going to be breaking down how we actually set this up in Klaviyo. So first you want to set up your segment in Klaviyo. So obviously go into list and segments, create a new segment, and we want to label this however it may be, your brand, your agency, sunset flow segment, and then we can go from there. So we want to make sure that they can firstly receive marketing. If you're based in Europe, obviously GDPR, especially in England, you need to be able to consent to receiving marketing. In the States and places like that, it's not really as strict and monitored. So as you can see, can receive marketing. Number 2 is these dates as well. So the times in between, they can be dependent on your brand. So if you're sending a lot of emails and, like you're doing like 3 or 4 campaigns a week, they've had so many chances to interact with your brand. You can actually bring this down to 90 days and take it up to 180. The reason why I'll put 108 in here is just a good starting point, and it does give people enough time to receive everything. They're going to go through near enough your whole ecosystem in terms of re-engagement campaigns, sales, everything like that. So it does give them enough time to have a chance of actually interacting with your brand. Second of all, we want to make sure that they have received at least 10 emails in the last 180 days. I mean, the chances are they probably have going to receive this if you're sending consistent campaigns. We want to make sure that they haven't opened any emails, clicked any emails, they've been active on the site, viewed product. I'm going to go through this slowly so you can take screenshots of these dates. Start a checkout, placed order. We literally want to cover every part of their ecosystem. So it's going to account for everything. Let's say, for example, they come from ads, they click on your page and then they start a checkout, however it may be, and they're registered on your list. We want to make sure we're not getting rid of these people because even though they haven't interacted with emails, they are still interested in the brand. So long term, they could end up turning into a customer. It just means they might not check their emails as much. So making sure we cover every aspect of the ecosystem. I'm going to scroll through things super slow so you can come back, make sure you get the dates and stuff which suit your brand too. I would definitely keep it around 180 days in all honesty, and then what this is going to do is then create another segment for us to then suppress them once everything works true. Let's jump straight into creating the flow. So I'm going to jump into flows and type in sunset. I'm going to just click this one because it's registered with Shopify, but we'll go through non-customers and customers. On here, you want to make sure the trigger is sunset segment and then use template. So as you can see, this one was actually customers versus non-customers. There's nothing wrong with doing this. In my opinion, it's not really going to make a whole world of difference. They haven't really interacted with your brand. They've probably forgotten it. You're not on their radar. So if you're targeting customers and non-customers, I really don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. So I'm just going to delete this conditional split really quickly. And as we can see, this one has got 3 emails in here. I'm going to delete this email here and then delete this. And then here it is, everything easy. So when someone's added to the sunset segment, so when they've gone through everything like that, they're then going to be triggered into this flow. So the basic timings that come with this template, they are pretty standard, to be honest, and they're not going to make a huge load of difference. Even the numbers you're going to be getting going through your list, they're not really going to be building up a substantial amount of evidence to actually make some good improvements. So keeping these times, in all honesty, I'll maybe delay this 5 to 10 days in between. And then we want to give them a little bit of time after the second email, just in case they open it or they engage with it a couple of days afterwards, before then enabling them as unengaged. So as you can see here, it's automatically created a property. So as we get to the end, it's going to create a property, unengaged, Boolean, which means yes, true or false. And once it's true, we can then make an unengaged segment and then choose to suppress that once it starts building up. One thing I did actually just want to quickly mention is if when you're creating the segment itself, if you include like a product which people aren't consistently rebuying or you have a new seasons drop, consider making the last purchase at least like 365 days, because we know they're interested in your product and they've already purchased it. So you can actually increase this time, especially if it's something that's, like I said, it's not got instant demand. So they're not going to need to replenish it. You're not dropping new seasons. If it's a product that which potentially could wear out over a year, or they're going to look to buy something new, then definitely think about making this time longer. Let's jump into the email. So the first thing which you really want to focus on here is the subject line and preview text. We want to make sure it's as eye-catching as possible, gives them a reason to click. And one method which some people agree with, some people don't, is the RE method. So if me and you are going through a series of emails, it's going to come up RE, which means they've replied. So when this comes through in your inbox, it almost looks like you're halfway through a conversation with someone. So it does come across a little bit more appealing and it will capture that click. So that is one thing people have been using. We have tried it as a brand. It does bring some good results, but I know there's a few people out there which don't necessarily agree with the method behind it. Second of all, another great one is, as mentioned before, is you can just throw in like a 15% discount. We've missed you, this, that, and the other. Make your email stand out as much as possible. Maybe even add in some emojis into the subject line. You have to remember, on mobile phone, the subject line is what's going to first appear on your notification. Preview text is obviously the smaller text below that. So we really want to stand out, making sure the subject line is the banger. Preview text is just what's going to capture any extra information you're going to include in there. So I wouldn't necessarily focus too much on that. Focus on making sure your subject line's a banger with some emojis, clear like call to actions. We miss you, 15% off. Make sure things completely stand out. So as I mentioned before, we like to send just text-based emails. An email template like this is still going to have images. It's still going to come across as that type of email. So what we can do is if we go into change template here and then text only email on here. So what this is going to do, completely strip your email back to basics, and it's going to come up literally as you've just written it in your Gmail. So literally copy and paste your text in here. Once you copied and paste your text, make sure your font, your links, anything you've got in there. So here, stay subscribed. You want to make sure if we come to this link image, it's going to take them to your website, your homepage, whatever that may be. And so you make sure to highlight the whole thing. So it's going to highlight this, and then let's just put Google in it. Oh, wrong one. Let's just put Google. So you can see that it's going to be, oh, the whole thing wasn't highlighted. So as you can see, the whole thing has then become hyperlinked, which means obviously it's interactive. So when they click it, it's going to take them to your website. Make sure as well that you have got all your brand's fonts in there. So as you can come to here, let's say, for example, your brand uses Arial. Make sure it's in Arial. Make sure you are all good to like a nice font size. Colors matching, everything like that as well. You can also come to this bit down in the bottom and add personalization. So if you have been collecting first names, however you may be personalizing things in your pop-up form or capturing data, you can just come to here, first name, and then put hey. Always put something like hey there, or for example, this one is hey, oh hey, so we just put hey there. So what this is going to do is replace their name with there, so it'll be oh hey there, instead of their name if you haven't captured it, for example. And then we want to click save, and then that is your email done there. And then I will just quickly show you on the second email too, in case you wanted to make it a little bit more custom. So this is what it includes on the template. It's going to pull your dynamic block in, any products you may have, and it's just got some basic text here. I'm just going to delete all this now and drag an image across. Basic stuff. So if you just click S on the keyboard, it's then going to slice and then make sure that it's covered all your borders. Make sure it's 600 wide and it is not going over the boundaries here or under. We want to make sure it's going to fit central in the email, and then we'll just do that and then export JPEG and then save to downloads. Then we can literally just simply just drag and drop into there and then you are sorted. I'm going to drag and drop a text block in here too. Flick in between this and then paste with formatting. Keep that the same. This isn't going to interact with the personalization, so you just come to the top here where it says add personalization and then first name, hey there. And then that is pretty much it. And then as we mentioned before, we can have the universal blocks here. So if we come down, we have got the footer, which is already added. So if you have any other links in there, this isn't actually for this brand, this is for another brand. But if you've got any links in there, so it's going to take them through to any of your collections, bestsellers, sales, anything like that, social media panels. And then we also have a unsubscribe button down there as well. Make sure we have a button in here as well. You can add one of these buttons in here, or you can just drag it in from your Figma saying stay subscribed, shop now, however call to action you want to include. Make sure that is included in your email. As always, you can preview text and send it to your email. And you can also check the image size as well at the top. So with something like this, you're not going to be struggling for size. With this, you're not going to be struggling for total size of the email because there's not really any images in there, not many pictures. So it's just going to be a simple email. It's going to be staying below the maximum size. With this, it's always best to test your subject lines, preview text. So you can actually run conditional splits or A/B tests in here if you wanted to, test different call to actions, different offers. I think honestly, sunset flow shouldn't be something that you're putting a lot of time and effort into improving. It's one of those things, if they haven't engaged, then the likelihood of them converting is obviously a lot smaller than people that are engaged, people that are actually active with your brand. So I would focus on improving that aspect of your email marketing. Not to mention as well, the subject line and preview text here, we can include a little bit of urgency, creating a little bit more like curiosity and that kind of despair that they're going to miss out on this deal, they're not going to receive anything from the brand, so it's going to then encourage them a little bit more to actually convert. Just taking note of this property profile here, so create unengaged as true. I'm just going to click exit on here. So you want to come to listen segments, make sure you're creating a new segment. We can call this unengaged. So what this is then going to do is anyone that's gone through the whole flow of your sunset flow and then they're put into that unengaged bit, which I just mentioned, they'll be then placed in a unengaged segment. So when we come down here, property is about someone and then select property. We want to click unengaged. It's not actually going to show anything on here because this account isn't actually live and no one's actually going to be in this property, so it's not going to show anything up. And then we want to make sure it's set as Boolean, as I mentioned before, and then is true. So then anyone that's true in that segment is then going to be put into the unengaged. Then when you have any free time, I would suggest anywhere between 3 to 6 months. We then want to suppress them. So then what that's going to do is take them out of your active list and then put them suppressed. You can actually unsuppress people, but there's not really any benefit of doing this. That's then going to then take them out of your total billing. So let's say, for example, you suppress, let's say 5,000 people. It then brings you down from like 20,000 to 15,000. That's then going to reduce your monthly Klaviyo bill. So not only are you keeping your list health clean, you're actually reducing your monthly costs as well. I would also suggest as well, like let's say, for example, 6 months falls to now, which is at the 30th of October. I would actually consider doing this probably after Q4 because you have Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas. So having these people in your list is probably a good chance keeping them now, just because they're potentially them converting on like Black Friday sales, because obviously biggest sale of the year, even Christmas sales are big. If you're in the UK and Europe, you have Boxing Day, January sales. Generally, it is just a high buyer intent part of the year. So suppressing around about Q4, I would suggest considering doing that Q2, Q3 when it's a little bit quieter. Or if you are a seasonal business as well. So let's say, for example, you're focused on selling like swimwear, like loungewear, like that type of thing. I would consider suppressing that in the winter months when obviously your brand isn't as busy and it hasn't got the demand. As always, we have got to the end of the video and I want to say a massive thank you for watching. How we can improve your deliverability for whatever stage you're at, making sure we're always landing in the primary inbox and we're not going to spam or the promotions tab. So as you can see, we've gone through how to make all these high converting flows. We've got these nice designed emails all built out with automations. We want to be making sure with all this time and effort we've put in, they're going to be landing in the main inbox. If they're not, then obviously we've just wasted our time and we're not going to be seeing the return on investment, even in the time and money that we've just spent building these flows. As I mentioned before, our agency is running a good deal at the minute where we guarantee you a minimum of 75k in the next 90 days, or we will work for free. So if that is interest to you, feel free to click the link below and there will be a Calendly link below and also my website where you can book a free audit as well. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be like reading from a talkboard, but we're going to be going through this and the document will also be down below as well. So feel free to make sure to stick that through this video where I can go through and explain everything, as this guide kind of just touches base on most things, but I'm going to be breaking it into a little bit more detail now. So the whole deliverability guide really takes between, if you're starting from scratch, really 2 weeks, and depending on how bad your deliverability is screwed, it can take upwards of 3 to 4, even 5 weeks in some cases. So really the metrics you want to be looking at is your open rates and your click-through rates. I'll go through it a little bit in more detail in a second. So scroll down, there's a little bit about me if you fancy a little read, and pretty much we're going through the foundations. So deliverability is whether your email lands in the inbox, spam, or promotions. Obviously, we want to be landing in the inbox, that way that we get the notification on your mobile phone, and also obviously people check their inbox. Their main inbox is not their promotions or their junk tab. So obviously, the more people that see it, more opens, more conversions. Key warning signs we want to be looking out for, as mentioned, low open rates and click-through rates is also one to mention as well. Indicates obviously poor inbox placement and success factors. So making sure we're all authenticated, our lists are good, engagement and stuff like this. So scroll down onto the next bit. No matter what stage you're at with your email, we want to be making sure the back end is set up. So authenticating your email. That means your SPF, your DKIM and your DMARC is all set up. I'm not going to be going through this because there is other tutorials on YouTube. I will make a separate one on this channel showing you how we can set things up like this, but there is a tool that we can use to check this. So this tool is literally called Google Admin Toolbox. Literally all you do is you put in your email address for your domain, run checks, and it'll tell you obviously what you've got in place, making sure that everything is in order, and if you're missing anything, we need to make sure that's added. It's all through your DNS of your domain, so whether that be like Squarespace, GoDaddy, or something like that, you can literally just copy and paste the DNS codes and then you're all set up. I will do a tutorial of this in the future. Warming up your sender reputation. So mainly this is more towards brand new email accounts or even an email that hasn't been consistently used. So if you've only been sending like 1 or 2 campaigns a month, your flows aren't that active, you haven't got that many emails, really you want to start warming it up. So how I actually structure mine is I run a text-based foundation only. So that way we're not having to fight with images. So I'm not too sure if you're aware, text-based emails, Google or your provider actually has a physical capability to see what you're actually including in your email, so they can obviously read the text, make sure it's not too spammy, things like that. Whereas images, they can't guarantee what content's been put on those images, so the likelihood of your images landing in the main inbox when your deliverability is poor obviously is a lot less than if you're choosing text-based emails that are focusing on obviously not coming across spammy and things like that. Also, what we want to be doing as well is just only running the main most active flows, so that the welcome flow, abandoned cart flow, post-purchase. You can also do like browse abandonment as well, because that's quite an active flow. We really want to be avoiding like win back, sunset flows, anything that's going to have low engagement for people that are unengaged and they're going to be having like low open rates, low click-through rates. So we really want to be focusing on driving the best results we can just to bring that like accountability back up. The main goal is to consistently get to 40% open rates. So we'll be showing you what we're going to do for that in a minute. But really, once we start hitting 40% open rates for like a consistent week, that means we can then reach it, like broaden our horizon with our audience, and we can go through that in a second. Gradual image introduction. So then we can start sending campaigns, start adding images to our flows once we start seeing these 40%. Only really focus on text-based if your like deliverability is super in the pan, like you're getting 10-20% open rates. If it's not too bad, we probably can just stick to images and then just incorporate text-based emails like once or twice in your flows, and same with your campaigns as well. As I mentioned before, I'm going to lead into how we're actually going to do our audiences. So this is kind of my structure when it comes to audiences. So I tend to, depending on how bad your deliverability is. So if it's super poor, like I mentioned, like 10-20%, you really want to start with your 14-day most engaged. So how this is going to look on your Klaviyo, for example, you're going to be sending to, let's say, 100 people, let's say 90% of people open it, so that means you get a 90% open rate, and let's say you get 2-3% click-through rate. This is automatically going to boost your sender reputation as you're like giving off high rated results and you just send into like high engaged audiences. Then once we get this consistently for a week, we can then broaden the horizon, go to 30 days, same again, and 60 days, 90 days. That's the kind of process we want to be doing. That way we can slowly start building our reputation up bit by bit, and we can keep landing in the main inbox, because as soon as you see a drop off in your open rates or click-throughs, you then want to just drop it back down again. So let's say, for example, we're at 90 days, deliverability tanks, and we start getting like 30% open rate or a little bit less than 40. We then just want to drop it back to 60 and then just keep it on there for a little bit of time. So next bit is cleaning your list ruthlessly. So it kind of links in with the audience segmentation in a way that you only want people that are actually interested in your brand, people that are actually going to interact with your emails, whether that being click, reply, however it may be. We don't want to have people that are just sitting there dormant on your list, because you're actually paying for them on your Klaviyo bill or whatever your email provider is, and they are just sitting there gathering dust because they're not going to be in any of your engaged flows. So they're only going to be coming up in your unengaged, which isn't necessarily bad. They come in handy for like Black Friday, big sales that we can be targeting the whole list. However, as a whole, we want to be keeping on top of this and then, cleaning your list properly. We have actually made a video called the Sunset Flow, which is here, and we go through how to keep your list nice and clean. We also want to set up features in your email provider, such as Klaviyo. We want to be having people that have bounced, people that have landed in spam. We want to be collecting these emails and completely removing them, because people use fake email addresses. People's email addresses get banned. They don't end up using them, deleted. So we don't want to be like increasing like spams and bounces with our email address, because that is, again, going to be hurting our deliverability in the long run. I have run into a few cases where people have asked me about using purchase lists. So that means you go to like a data broker, you purchase a list of emails. This is obviously one of the worst things you can do when it comes to email marketing, especially for something that's like related to a brand or a service. Obviously it's different if it's cold outreach. At this point, we're focusing on building like reputation for our brand. We don't want to be reaching people on cold traffic, because they're going to be reporting your emails as spam, unsubscribing, which isn't going to look good on your brand as a whole, and is going to be hurting your deliverability. So there's no way of winning with a purchase list when it comes to building your brand. So boosting your engagement signals is literally the same as social media, and I think a lot of people do forget you can do this with email. As I'm sure you're aware, any email address you can actually reply to, and the same goes for the emails that you're actually sending to your audience. So encouraging replies to saying like, if you've got any questions, we can go through like stuff like that, any improvements, reviews. You can also do like giveaways. So what we've done in the past is actually had a giveaway where they can design a product that we're actually going to design and implement. That way they're then sending their designs over through email, just boosting your replies and then showing your email provider that people are actually interested in the stuff you're sending, and obviously they're actually replying, because click-throughs and opens are good. However, replies, they're massive. That means people are actually engaged in what you're sending. Number two, is clear call to action. So I've seen on a lot of emails that I've been auditing, their call to action buttons are very far down on the email. They're not clear in terms of like a button layout. They're not like, they don't stand out in the email. So you're almost hiding it within the email, meaning it's harder for people to actually click, get through to your website and interact with your email. So make sure we have multiple call to actions. They're easy to see. I like to have mine quite high up on the email, so it's in the first fold of like your phone. So let's say your phone's this big, you want the call to action button to be here, not below here where people have got to scroll. So making it as easy as possible. Number 3 is personalized content, custom subject lines, preview text, things which really draw your audience in. They're not just basic ones saying this is our new drop. Do you know what I mean? They really do bore people. One thing I actually like to show people when auditing their accounts is I have this email account which I've subscribed to multiple different brands that we've either audited or they're actually a client of ours, where you can actually compare subject lines and preview text. So let's see these two here without discrediting these brands. These literally blend in with the inbox. Like it doesn't even, my eyes are literally not drawn to it whatsoever. And you can kind of imagine what it looks like in your customer's inbox. So they're going to have multiple promotions from 10, 20 different brands they're subscribed to, especially if you're sending at the same times, like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, things like that. Your email is going to literally blend in with theirs. So you really want to do things to stand out, such as using emojis, exclamation points, a mixture of like capital letters, even here like #1, reviews, so like 1,635. these things really do stand out in the inbox. So anything you're doing with your subject line and preview text, we really want to be focusing on just gaining that first initial attraction to then get them to click the email and then obviously then convert onto your website. So optimizing for inbox success. There's a few things in here which I have written down. However, as an agency, we actually don't do, but I'll go through that in a second. So if you're using the text-based emails, so no HTML, avoid using words like free, money, make money, things like this that you're expected to see in like a spam email, because these are going to get picked up super quick, and then obviously they're going to land you in the spam inbox. Mainly on like images. Obviously, if you're using image-based, they're not going to pick that up. So if you're just using text-based, really just focus on removing these. However, most of these you're not really going to be including on your email anyway if you're a brand. So just keep an eye out for things like that. This one is quite controversial. So maintaining a healthy text-to-image ratio. As an agency, we actually just use straight images. So we'll literally just slice it straight from Figma into Klaviyo. And then obviously it's just a whole image. That way we're not fighting with dark mode, like resizing on mobile and desktop. It's just easier and it just looks a lot better as well. This is something that you would do if your deliverability is not the best, because although it is best practice to include text, if your deliverability is pretty good, we don't really need to worry about the text, because if you're doing 9 out of 10 things correct, one thing's not going to massively impact your deliverability. The reason why I know this is because we do it with multiple of our brands. I will actually put a screenshot for some of our recent open rates and click-through rates, and this is all just off of images. So kind of have a look at that, and then if you don't believe us, then fair enough. Lastly, we want to make their experience simple as well. So having a clear unsubscribe button down the bottom. That way your email is not going to get reported for spam and things like that. So making it easy, don't hide it. If people want to unsubscribe, they're actually doing you a favor, because you're then not going to be paying for someone that has little to no interest in actually seeing your brand's products. Monitor and adjust weekly. So a lot of people think you can literally just set your flows up, start sending campaigns, and you're going to be good. You don't have to worry about it. However, if you do this, you're literally going to be dropping the ball, because if your deliverability falls off, and it can do overnight, you've then lost 2 to 3 weeks where you're rebuilding your deliverability back up. And again, it's just not going to look good on your brand. Even if you're an agency doing it for another brand, your performance is going to drop. So we want to be making sure we're ahead of the game, making sure we're keeping monitor of things that are performing well, things that aren't, because you can see as well on unsubscribe rates that if people are unsubscribing on certain emails, let's say, for example, a certain product or a certain topic you're covering, on those emails, you're getting a good amount of unsubscribes. We want to stop sending that, because people aren't resonating with it. Your audience don't want to see it. It's just going to be impacting you as a brand. The screenshot I actually included earlier with the results we got from here, I'll show you again now. We actually increased their deliverability score by 22 points. I'm pretty sure it's higher than that now. And their peak open rates, honestly, at average, they're sitting around about 60 to 70%, which is crazy. And obviously dropping nowhere below the 40%. So one thing I do just want to make a quick disclaimer. Open rates aren't something you want to be focusing on, because these numbers are inflated when it comes to Apple's updates. So they automatically open the emails. We have bots which automatically open them. Also, people open them to delete the email. So these numbers are actually inflated, and they're not something you want to be going directly off. The best one, in my opinion, to go off is open rates. That means that we know a good percentage of people are engaging with your email and they're actually seeing it physically in their inbox. So that is one of the main things that we can definitely say that people are actually interacting with your emails. Using tools like 𝐑𝐞𝐥𝐚𝐭 apps, MailGenius, these can keep a track of your emails provider, seeing your analytics, seeing if your emails actually landing in the inbox, checking your engagement and things like that. So have a look into 𝐑𝐞𝐥𝐚 apps and MailGenius. So how 𝐑𝐞𝐥𝐚 apps works is it's literally just a free spam checker. You have a code here, you copy it, send your email to that code, press free spam checker, and it'll tell you how it kind of rates your email, what its placement's going to be on your inbox. It'll also check it across different email providers like Outlook, Gmail, Yahoo, Apple, many more, so we can kind of see where things are at with that. MailGenius is pretty similar to 𝐑𝐞𝐥𝐚 apps as well. It's just another alternative. So have a look at the pricing, compare things, check the free ones out and see which one you resonate with more. Now we are at the end of the video where we can start wrapping things up. We want to be have our own little checklist. So number one, we want to make sure SPF, DKIM and DMARC is properly configured. We're all warmed up. We want to spend at least 2 days gradually warming things up. So starting from a couple sends, slowly building them up to full list. Making sure our lists are nice and clean, so we have an active sunset flow. We're regularly suppressing and putting into unengaged audiences. And secondly, we want to make sure our content is optimized. So As I mentioned before, the controversial one, text and image ratio. If your deliverability is good, just whack a full image on there. It's not going to massively impact you. Clear unsubscribe, clear call to actions, spam words avoided, people actually want to see your content, and then you are on for a winner. And if you're struggling with people resonating with your content, feel free to book a call. We can give you some crazy good designs, make crazy good ideas as well. I think that's where a lot of brands lack the idea of like creative ideas that people actually want to see. And I think that's where people do fall short, because you're in an inbox competing with at least 20, 30 different brands at the same time. So making sure our content stands out, we've got good ideas, is a way we're definitely going to be staying on top of the inbox. So even if you want a few tips how we can increase your deliverability, there'll be a link at the bottom of this document as well where we can book a quick call, go through your account, audit everything, and then tell you how we'd improve it. Also going through kind of what results you're expected to see, whether that be in terms of like revenue, percentage-wise, and give you a reasonable time frame as well. So we can use ChatGPT in our everyday life to improve our email marketing, speed things up, keep our ideas fresh, and ultimately kill our email marketing revenue. Just want to quickly throw it in there as well. We have just finished our free email marketing course on the channel. We have about 6 videos in there going through everything from the welcome flow to sunset flow, win backs. And then we also have how to fix your deliverability as well. So if you haven't checked that out, feel free to check that out on the channel as well. There's a quick playlist on there. We're going to be adding to it, so make sure to drop a quick subscribe on the channel too. So the reason why we use ChatGPT, in my opinion, I don't fully think it's there to completely handle your email marketing when that comes to copy, ideation, things like that. Especially the design aspect, I really don't think it's there. However, there is a few things as an agency or as a business we can use ChatGPT to speed things up, keep our ideas fresh, and then ultimately it's going to be resulting in higher revenue because fresh ideas, things like that, less subscribes, more people stay on your list. So starting off with something we use as an agency very regularly is campaign ideas or calendar, however you put it. We mainly use it for campaign ideas, and then we'll have a copywriter who will obviously craft up all the copy, choose the products on there, put all the call to action buttons in there, because I don't fully think ChatGPT is there when it comes to copy. Also selecting products, themes, things like that on the email, it doesn't really fit the brand very well. However, on the bottom end of email, if you're just looking to keep campaigns flowing, it's definitely something you could look into. However, if you're a brand that's scaling, you're pushing 6-7 figures a month, that's when you really need the human touch for proper ideation with themes, products you're going to be promoting. So obviously like your best sellers, products you need to be pushing. ChatGPT really doesn't pick out the best products. I've tried it multiple times, tried it with different codes and call outs, really didn't enjoy it. So I'm going to be showing you how we can code this and copy and paste pretty much into your own calendar. So starting off, I'll put these codes below as well, but stay tuned for the rest of the video and we're going through every point how to use ChatGPT in your email marketing. So starting off, I want you to build me a campaign calendar for my e-commerce brand. Then we want to put your brand's link to your website so it can obviously open it up, see what stuff you have on there. So this is my brand. We're going to use Gymshark. So this is the prompt we do next is I want this calendar to consist of a 70-30 split. What this means is 70% of our content is going to be social proof, educational purposes, any objections people may have, getting them over those objections. And then the 30% is going to be promotion, so either the sales, product highlights, bestsellers, your collections, capsules, anything which you've got going on right now. We really just want to be pushing the product maybe once a week. So on a 70-30 split, it doesn't necessarily work out to be 70-30. It could be 2 emails a week are your educational and then 1 email is your promotional. Then we want to be doing our frequency. So as you can see here, I want to send 3 campaigns per week. You can choose the days. When I let it choose the days, sometimes with family brands, weekends really do perform poorly. So sending in the week has been better. So that'll be like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as to sending on something on a Saturday and Sunday. Really, it does depend on your brand. However, we have noticed it with a few brands recently, weekends performance has really been dropping. So obviously we've changed from weekends to weekdays. So we want to be putting in a table form, have the columns for the following: name of campaign. So obviously when you're labeling your thing in Klaviyo or your email provider, keeps it easier. Then we want to have in the date in there. So when you're actually planning your actual campaign calendar out, we can use that. Ideas to focus on. So we use this for our copywriters so they can really just tap into creating the copy. So here I'll put in brackets, tapping in on objections and emotions. So that's what the main point of the email is going to be about. Context of the email. So again, it's similar to the idea to focus on, but it's more about the context. And then audience as well. So whether that be in like retargeting, engaged audience, whatever that may be. And then if we just click enter on this, it's going to populate us a calendar. So as you can see, pressing enter, it's just spurted out a quick calendar. The reason why it says here as well, Monday week 1, is because after the date thing, we really want to be putting a time that it's starting from. So let's say we're going to start from tomorrow, which would be the 12th of November. That will then populate accordingly to those dates. Here, it's just stipulated to Monday to Wednesday and Friday. Then we can see some of the ideas that is put out there. So your progression is perfection. Obviously, relating to Gymshark, sports brand, people are trying to get bigger, fitter, lose weight. So your progression is perfection. Ideas focus on objections. So overcoming self-doubt, which is something a lot of people struggle with when it comes to fitness in the gym. Reminding people that progression is what counts. Then the context is going to be educational, motivational, staying consistent with training. So this whole thing has actually given our copywriters something to work from. Then they're not having to create their own ideas. They've got some pretty much a base to go from, which has got everything in there. So they're not having to brainstorm complete brand new ideas. Then the audience as well, existing subscribers, lifestyle segments, things like this. So what we can do with this is literally in the top right hand corner, copy table, come over to Notion, and then we can literally, because ChatGPT works really well with Notion, you can literally copy and paste, and then table form, it comes out looking perfect. So like this. So we've got campaign ideas. We can literally just label this like that, copy and paste it into Notion, send it over to your team, keep it in-house for yourself, whatever you may use it for, you've literally got it there, no problem at all. So jumping straight in from the calendar to ChatGPT, I'm going to put this down below as well that you can copy and paste. So using the data below, I want you to write me a campaign for email marketing for the brand. Put your link in there as well, so Gymshark. And then we want to put in this format, give me 3 examples of each and then write them in order. So 3 examples of subject line and then on to the next. In there, we're going to include subject line, preview text, header, body, and then call to action. If you've got anything else that you include in there, like you want to have like multiple sections, multiple headers, subheaders, things like that, we can then just obviously add that in there, just paying that subheader as well. So coming back down to the end of the prompt, focusing the email on tone. So tone of Gymshark would be motivational, community focus and building, also like energetic as well. As obviously their main goal of email is to motivate people, get them in their clothes, into the gym, running, whatever it may be. So these things are kind of their tone. If you're doing like a different brand, like a luxury fashion brand, we could be having something that's like sophisticated, aspirational, pulling on people's emotions so they can understand how that dress is going to make them feel wearing it, things along those lines. Then we can come back over to the content calendar, and then we can see here, ideas to focus on. So if we go back over to here, ideas to focus on, jump back in, context of email, copy this too. And then lastly is audience. Also, I forgot as well to include the name of the campaign as well. Then literally all you want to do is press enter. And then what this is going to do is, using all this data, it's going to spurt out 3 of each. So example here, so subject line is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then as we can see here, it's spurted out different subject lines, preview text, headers, and body of the copy. Really, I would take this and then potentially massage it yourself, make it a little bit better, more suited to your brand. Sometimes it does just need a bit of a human touch in there. I think ChatGPT's kind of hit its limit when it's coming to like using human tone. I think you can get it there the more you keep talking to it. So let's say, for example, you keep this chat on here, you keep building on it week in, week out, turn it how to improve. Then over time, it will start learning the kind of your voice, what your brand's looking for and things like that. So once we've started building things out on ChatGPT, this is kind of how we actually implement it and keep up to date with things within our agency. We have a client portal. So let's say new client is Gymshark. And then we want to come down. Here it says, welcome Gymshark. Put a little bit of text under here, change this logo to theirs. And then we get into the fun stuff. So we have our email campaign calendar here. And what this is, all of our team then has access to it along with the clients, and then they can then keep up to date with things. So if we then open this and come over to our ChatGPT, literally just copy and paste subject line here into this. This is only an example. This is not actually how we fully do it as an agency. As mentioned, we actually have in-house copywriters that do everything by hand, rather than using this stuff which comes out of ChatGPT. Once it's all inputted, so we have the name in here, your progression is perfection. And then we've also got a date as well. 13th of November. And what this is going to do is in our calendar, as we can see, here it is, content calendar done. Status is complete. So what we'll do as an agency, this will put ready for design. Our designer will then see it says one day, he'll get a notification that it needs to be designed. He'll then go in, once it's done, input the link here. So then us as an agency, the client can then see it, and then client review as well. Once they're happy, they can click done. Once he's designed it, it can then go into reviewing. So Cool way to see the stages. And then on the calendar as well, we can see it as well. This is due in 1 day. It's reviewing, but obviously I'll click that it's done by the client, but it's not. Then really what we want to do is having this completely planned out. So we're like 30 days ahead. Everything's planned. We know what's going on. Everything's all approved, looking lovely. So that is kind of the basics when it comes to using ChatGPT to help your agency. These ideas are super basic. You really want to be expanding on these. So keep these chats like based on your brand. Keep talking to it. Keep inputting information about your brand. The more you talk to it, the better your chat's going to be getting. And then obviously you can just keep building your content machine pretty much. So without further ado, I want to say a massive thank you for getting to the end of the video. If this is something you've enjoyed and you found interesting, feel free to subscribe and hit the like button as well. Always like to mention at the end of the video, we are running an offer, 75k of new email revenue in the next 90 days, or we will work for free until we do. Underneath there's going to be a link to book a call, as well as the description as well. As well in the description, there's going to be all the prompts as well that you can use for ChatGPT to enter your own code. With that being said, a massive thank you for watching and stay tuned and catch you on the next one.